is the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS show with Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Preview Show. We got 5 games here on a Thursday. Kicking off at 7:30, Chicago, Toronto. Late night hammer. We got 2 10 p.m. games on this main slate. Indiana versus Sacramento. Memphis versus Minnesota here to end the evening. So we got the 10 p.m. games back on the main slate. It starts at 7:30, a little bit later than usual, but accustomed for the Thursday slates here. Grande, big news of the Wednesday was Pascal Siakam being traded from the Toronto Raptors to the Indiana Pacers. Both of those teams are on this slate, but Siakam will not be. He is not expected to be available for the Pacers for this one. Expects to rejoin the team for Friday. So could see him make his debut then with the Pacers here. Could see Tyrese Halliburton, however, return Thursday in that matchup for them against the Sacramento Kings. Little revenge narrative return game for Halliburton. Probably no surprise to see him maybe want to get up there for that game.
Yeah.
So we got Chicago, Toronto, Washington versus the Knicks, who are on a back-to-back here. OKC versus Utah, Pacers, Kings, Grizzlies, Timberwolves as our 5 games on this main slate.
Yeah, pretty interesting slate. This should have been a back-to-back for Utah. Obviously, everyone heard the very sad news that took place on Wednesday that we don't need to rehash, but it is not a back-to-back set for Utah, and I assume, there's nothing on their front that is going to cause this game not to play. But I guess TBD on that, right?
It should be fine. Obviously.
Everything should be good there. Yeah. Toronto coming off a shellacking of the Heat with the new look Raptors. No Siakam. They obviously looked great for 3/4 of that game. The third quarter, things got a little sketchy, but a lot of teams on a back-to-back for this little slate, or should be a back-to-back. I guess a lot of teams is
the Toronto, the Knicks, and the Timberwolves are on back-to-back.
Yeah, just 3 teams on a back-to-back. Indiana, Sacramento looks like the least defense played. OKC, Utah, probably the most fun game of the night.
We have 3 totals so far. 2 of them, the games you just mentioned. OKC, Utah, 246.5 game total. Utah getting 3.5. Indiana versus Sacramento, 246.5 game total with the Kings giving 7.5, and that's without knowing the Halliburton news yet. So 2 very high game totals of the 3. The other one we have Chicago, Toronto. That's 224.5. We don't have Wizards, Knicks. We don't have Memphis, Minnesota right now.
Yes, I assume the Minnesota offering or non-offering is due to the Ant Edwards knee. But no reason to think he won't play after playing the front end of the back-to-back. And then the Knicks were fully at full strength on maybe a good rest spot, though, for the Knicks with Washington. Obviously I think the book's being smart, not putting anything out.
Yeah, agreed. Let's get into the slate here again. We'll go position by position. Your top price players on the slate tonight. SGA is at 10.2. Sabonis is at 10K. The guards rule the world here. Halliburton's $9,900. Fox $9,100. Top 3 guards on the board. Obviously SGA at 10.2 against this matchup against Utah. Rather, very, very appealing, coming off of a very poor performance from SGA in his most recent outing.
Yeah, maybe it does have something to do with the knee, because he's looked bad in the last 2 games, at least from a fantasy perspective. But like 24 and 19 points, that would have to be like the lowest back-to-back stretch he's probably had all year. Because I feel like every bad performance has been followed with 30 or 40 actual. So we'll see. Obviously, a really good pace environment for both teams. A last 246 total. So I'd be okay getting SGA here. It is worth mentioning how good Utah's been at home. Now, I'm not saying that's going to limit SGA, but they have been really, really good at home. I'm good getting there. Another soft pricing slate here. If we're going to have SGA 10-2 and Sabonis 10K as the highest two price plays.
Right.
It seems pretty soft to me.
Agreed. Obviously, if Halliburton 99 would be in a great spot if he was the return. Fox, we know on the other end of that game, anybody that faces the Pacers has an increased ceiling when it comes to what he can do. And of course, he's coming off of 51 fantasy points, 33 actual in that game against the Phoenix Suns, where they just had a monster lead and then gave it all away. What did you say? The teams that had were trailing by was it 30?
22 going into that point in the fourth quarter were 0 and 12,000 since or 1,200 since
And
2020.
the Suns came back and won that one. So we'll see what happens. Mid-tier range. I mean, listen, Brunson 85, great spot against the Wizards. Obviously, we'll see if Wizards can even hang in that game. But Knicks are in a back-to-back. Anthony Edwards still ridiculously too cheap here at 8,400. Of course,
yes,
Memphis doesn't have anybody to play, so we'll see. We'll see what the spread in that game ends up looking like. Scotty Barnes and Dominion quickly 81 and 7K. Kobe White down to $6,900 here against Toronto on the other side of that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, the Edwards price is definitely interesting. The Memphis signing is kind of funny. Scottie Pippen Jr. is now a member of the Memphis Grizzlies, so we might see him make his debut as a Grizzly. They did beat the Warriors last time out, for what that's worth, right? And obviously the Warriors have been bad. So again, take that for what it's worth. I think this mid-tier is really interesting. I mean, obviously the Raptors guys, we have 3 Raptors guys at point guard, 4 Raptors guys at point guard. If they run that same lineup that they did on Wednesday, is Gary Trent the highest rostered player in $4,300?
Got to assume, right? Got to assume that would be the case, given the way he, shot lights out. Obviously in that game here. I mean, we don't have the box score there, but just to tell you all, if you didn't know what he did against Miami, played 31 minutes, went 10 of 13 from the floor, 8 of 9 from 3 at 28 actual. Only had 2 rebounds and 1 steal, but still at $4,300, he had 28 actual. Yeah, that's a good night.
But you can get to any of them quickly, almost triple doubled, 7K, back-to-back games, and 4 of 5 where he's had 36 plus fantasy points, so 5x plus in 4 of his last 5. Kobe White, you mentioned under 7K. I think that's warranted, just given, I think Kobe White's going to have big games throughout the year because he's obviously transformed into a pretty good shooter. He's shooting over 40%. He's still on most nights probably not going to be the first option. So maybe he catches the Raptors, who are playing really, really fast on the second leg of a back-to-back. But would you rather play Kobe White 69, or would you rather play Malik Monk 64 against Indiana, or Colin Sexton, who we were all in on Wednesday's slate, for 6,200? He didn't play. His price went down $200.
Yeah, I think it's obvious. That would be the group that we'd take a look at. Monk and Sexton, just sort of given their recent performances. Monk 29 minutes, 13 actual, 29 fantasy points against the Suns. Again, could have had a better day. 8 assists and 7 assists last 2 games. Certainly a bit encouraging. And then Sexton we expected to play, but now that he's not on the back-to-back, maybe it's better off. Ridiculous scoring numbers for him lately.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a tougher defensive matchup, but 2 top 10 teams in pace. I'm getting to Sexton.
Agreed. Jordan Poole, 31 minutes the other day, 32 minutes. Not probably spot we're going to go. He did have a nice little 3-game run there of 20 plus actual scoring. If if Halliburton's out, Numbard's here at 24 minutes. They got blown out in that game. He's going to get the minutes. McConnell had 18. Liking that McConnell's down to 5,900 and not 7K.
Yeah. What scenario is he playing minutes? Because he didn't play in the blowout. He played 19. Still was limited in competitive game 2, where Nembhard plays 29 and 23.
They don't have Bruce Brown anymore.
They don't have Bruce Brown. That's true. So like more necessity for McConnell to actually play. I'd be okay with it. I
It's
you
better
mean
that he's not
Nembhard?
7K anymore. So
Yes, it's for sure. Maybe potential. I mean, Conley's played back to backs this year, but he sat their last
yeah.
back to back, so maybe something to monitor as well.
Kennard's down here at 53. Keontae George is 48. You mentioned Gary Trent. Gilliard's down here. What's the value temperature for you?
Oh, never mind. Conley, Memphis. No, there's not going to be. He's not going to rest
Well, they're not
there.
in Memphis, at least.
That's true. The value. I mean, Trent for sure. Luke Kennard, 29, 33, 32 minutes last 3 games. That seems pretty
Yeah.
secure. They might start him, continue to start him at point guard. Because they brought Gilliard off the bench last game. Keontae George, I'm fine with 48. He should play anywhere between like 22 to 27 minutes. And if his shot's falling, there's ceiling minutes game for him. And that's really it. If Conley were to sit, like you take a look at McLaughlin or NEW.
Shooting guard here, Levine, $7,100. Clarkson, 68. Barrett, 66. I know we're in on that grouping. I didn't even realize Matherin here is questionable. If Matherin was out, I mean, they would be going deep with their.
Oh, dude, they're short-handed. Holy cow! Now let me pose this question, John. I guess they could technically, because Brown traded, Nawara traded. Neesmith practiced but questionable. Toppin questionable. Matherin questionable. Halliburton questionable. If all of those guys are essentially
they have to play
out,
McConnell.
do you see McConnell and Nembhard start?
That or they go Shepherd.
Or they go
25
Shepherd,
minutes against Utah in that game.
Yeah, he's playing a little bit. I also like free Jurace Walker. Like that would obviously be he'd be like the first person I plug in my
in their game. Again, they lost by 30 in that one, but he had 31 fantasy points in those 26 minutes because he's a monster. So
eighth overall pick. Yeah, I can't find. This is just side tangent. This is just why sometimes picks in drafts are overstated when it comes to like acquiring players. If that dude can't play for this team, just goes to show you like what does Indiana need those picks for?
They just acquired Pascal Siakam to play over Jurace Walker, who they used in the lottery. So
and he wasn't playing over Obi Toppin or Jalen Smith or like any of those guys. So like, you know, for those that are like, wow, look at all that draft capital that Toronto got, which they did, and good for Toronto. But Indiana did not need the picks, especially when they're like talking about extending Siakam after this year, which was obviously.
No, agreed. For sure. Again, a lot of these guys we have already discussed. Healed, I guess, would be the other benefit here if the guards are all out. Himself also a little revenge game there. $6,100. Can't do Giddy, I guess. You yelled at me for it the other day. Played 19 minutes. I don't know.
Dude, he just doesn't play minutes. He just doesn't play minutes. I don't want to like. I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
I know. Caruso 56, probably not. I mean, the minutes are there. I guess he's okay.
The price is
getting. That's what I said. I look at him and I'm like, 56. I liked him when he was 5K.
And when people were out, like.
Horford got minutes, but was in foul trouble in that one for a little bit. Isaiah Joe obviously had a nice little game for himself. There, 23 minutes.
Make shots. He just needs to make shots. But he's also like, you can just play Gary Trent.
I was they're not
like
not
that.
Playing Zaire.
You mentioned Shepherd. That's obviously on the table if all these guys in Indiana sit. They just don't have have a choice.
Yep, agreed. Small forward. Lord Markkinen's 83 still.
Dude, they all went down. We didn't. I know you just like touched on Clarkson. Same thing applies for me, by the way. Personally, like I would rather play Sexton, especially over Clarkson. Personally, no issue getting to Markkinen. Tough spot. He's going to see combinations of like good defenders, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams. Going to see all those guys, but I want Lauri Markkinen to be on the Thunder, so this would be a good prove it game for OKC. I would like Lauri Markkanen to be in Oklahoma City Thunder.
Agreed. Let's see. Barnes is there at 81. DeRozan 73. Jalen Williams continues to be a monster at 72.
DeRozan revenge narrative. Traded him before a finals.
The minutes
champion.
are nice. Yeah.
The minutes are great. The pace-up spot is great. We've talked about Toronto's new look lineup. They're playing really fast, and the Bulls are playing really slow. Also, I don't know if you saw this the other night, what the Bulls did, John. We got it. We got the lineup.
Okay.
We got the Drummond Vuk lineup together for a few minutes the other day. Just wanted to throw it out there. Not relevant, but hilarious that actually happened. Love this tier. DeRozan, Barnes. I actually like the Barnes price quite a bit. 8,100 is a really good price for Scotty Barnes. DeRozan, great price tag, 7,300. He's obviously going to get some Scotty Barnes defense here. Jalen Williams, even, in a game that OKC would get close and then the Clippers just would pull away. Dude, he just does so many things on the floor. The scoring has obviously been elite, but he has 6 assists and so many games in a row. He's good on the glass. He's good defensively. So I like Williams. And we didn't really talk about RJ Barrett, but dude, he's been so good. I'm gonna keep saying it. RJ Barrett's a staple for me as long as he's under 7K, while he keeps playing the way he's playing. Because again, you talked about the Trent game. Barrett tonight, 26, 8, and 3 assists, 36 minutes, led the team, 9 of 14 shooting. He also missed 6 free throws. So if he doesn't miss 6 free throws, we're talking about a guy who has over 30 points again. So RJ Barrett's super staple for me.
Yeah, he's in a monster. Denny had a 50 fantasy point game the other day. Had a 49 fantasy point game. If you can find the right day, 52, 40, 49, tournament play. If you find the right day, Denny can go off and have himself a night. $6,400. Vince Williams Jr. played 38 minutes.
Shout out Vince Williams.
Your boy finally
getting the bag.
Finally got the bag. Too. The entire team got hurt. He is now the man. So $6,100 is too cheap, but this is what we're getting out of him.
He has a little herb to him. Not just because they're same position lefties too. Second round pick, super good defensively, super active everywhere. He has a lot of herb. He's not as good as Herb defensively, but Herb qualities to Vince Williams.
Again, we were always like him because he would sort of fill up the stat sheet. He wasn't shooting enough, and now he has to shoot. So,
and 40% from 3 over the last 5 games for a guy who's shooting 35%. That's good to see.
Yep. Where else are we going in the mid tier?
If Neesmith plays and everybody doesn't, I would just assume Neesmith is going to get a bunch of run. He's a guy who they have relied on. If you get another guy, if you get the right game, Josh Hart doubled on Wednesday after being doubtful or questionable all day. David Roddy continues to play 20-something minutes off the bench. He's fine. If anyone sits, you have Kyle Anderson and NAW right here, but you would have to get somebody sitting, I would say, in that scenario. I don't think there's anything else that we really need to talk about. I do believe Isaiah Livers and Marvin Bagley are going to make their debut. Interesting note, Isaiah Livers, John, was Jordan Poole's college roommate, and they played on their Michigan team together. Their best friends, Isaiah Livers said Jordan Poole would have been his best man at his wedding.
Powerful.
Just throwing that out there.
Randall,
a lot of random
$8,800. Moving on from the Isaiah Livers wedding story. Randall,
a lot of random stats.
Randall's $8,800 against the Wizards. That feels pretty good.
It does feel. It feels good if he doesn't play, as long as he can play
That's
fourth
fair.
quarter.
That's definitely fair. Triple J at 76.
That feels good. I know Minnesota is obviously good, but dude, he's taken 20 shots in 3 straight games. He's gone 10 for his last 40, John. And Triple J has 42 and 34 fantasy points in his last 2 games, despite going 10 for 40. He has a high ceiling. He just has a high ceiling, even on games where he can't make a single shot. There's a ceiling.
Yeah, I agree. Again, not to skip over Towns at 8K, Kuzma at 86. I just would rather go Randall or into this mid tier if I had to pick a way to go about building lineups for power forward. You do have Keegan Murray though at 6K against the Pacers. Feels like a really good spot for him here.
Yep, feels like a ceiling spot for everyone on the Kings, as long as they don't have a letdown after just the performance that they, where they just shit the bed down or up 22 with 8 minutes left. So that's a thing. Collins, for no reason, he was 6K the other day. For no reason, he's back to 5,500. If that's he loses out time to blowouts last time out. So definitely interested in Collins. Jalen Smith might also be the only Indiana Pacer available today.
Noah, you mentioned all the guys that questionable. No Siakam, certainly could be a Jalen Smith thing.
So Jalen Smith, this might be his final audition for either the Pacers to keep him as the backup center or for someone to trade for Jalen Smith. I don't know if you saw it was either going to be Jordan Nwora or Jalen Smith, which is a weird, like one or the other.
They went with Jordan Nwora?
They went with Jordan Nwora. I don't know who was like the decider on that one, but that was like the discussion behind those guys. Same thing can be said for Obi Toppin if he plays. I mean, and let's say Nesmith doesn't, and we already know Siakam's out. Like you could get to Toppin.
Not playing Obama enough.
I don't know. Well, that's because Gigi Jackson, and that's the next question. 4K Gigi Jackson has gone nuclear. I don't know what to do with this.
And you play him, obviously.
So he's going to be. So I said Gary Trent was going to be the highest owned play of the slate, but like Gigi Jackson is going to realistically probably be the highest owned play of the slate, right? Like that's pretty much set in stone. Gigi Jackson gets 100%. Like if you're playing, like you're building 20 lineups, like he didn't start. He basically played like kind of like over Jaren Jackson in the fourth quarter. But I mean, Jaren Jackson finished the final 4 minutes. I don't know. I'm just hypothesizing here. Like he played over Zaire Williams. That was it. Zaire Williams didn't play the entire fourth. Yeah, I guess that's your chalk monster. And then obviously if all the Indiana guys are out, Dries Walker 3,600 is
center. Sabonis is at 10K here. Then you get Chet at $7,800. Vucevic, Gobert, Turner. Where are we targeting our center position?
Sabonis, for sure. Another monster triple-double, 20-point triple-double, even in a game that Fox goes crazy. Don't love the shots and the free throws the last few games, but he makes up for it with the peripheral stats. Great game environment for him to absolutely dominate in. So Sabonis is number one. He's my number one spend up over SGA on the slate. Perfectly fine getting to Chet. Really bad game against the Clippers. He feels like a good bounce back spot. Don't think we need to get to Chet, but he has a ceiling. I do like the Vucevic spot, just considering what Toronto has at center. I mean, they are playing Thad Young and Jonte Porter like all the minutes. They don't really play Chris Boucher. Miles Turner could have a team to himself, but that's not necessarily a good thing. And he also could get monster foul trouble. That's also not a good thing. Rudy Gobert had another good game. He seemingly just has big game after big game after big game.
Big minutes for Xavier Tillman lately.
Big minutes for Xavier Tillman for sure. I mean, they cut Biyombo, and now it's like Tillman. They were using Roddy as the backup center. And I know he had 6 steals in a game. That seems like an aberration. He's done that before. Like he's had like randomly big block steal games. Not going to get many 20-point games for Xavier Tillman again, but he's also not. He's a lot of the times when he's starting and playing 30, he's not going to also score 2 points. So definitely interested in some Tillman.
Sure. Anybody else down here at center for you?
Isaiah Jackson always in play in tournaments. Actually, John, Daniel Gafford's out. Does Marvin Bagley start?
If he's in,
he's on an injury report.
Yeah, 4K bags.
Does he start? just play 40 minutes?
Him
Like,
and
Patrick Baldwin.
yeah.
Patrick Baldwin has been in the rotation the last 2 games, 18 and 13 minutes. I could see them going to Patrick Baldwin
Sure.
for extended run. 3,300. That's only power forward, but there's no Gafford. They traded
Muscala and
Muscala, and like Anthony Gill is Anthony Gill. He's also an undersized front court member. So I guess TBD on who's going to start. My guess would be Bagley, but it could also be Patrick Baldwin. I think one of those two start.
Great. Let's build a lineup. Where are we going?
Home. We're just leaving. Just leaving the. I mean, GG Jackson, Marvin Bagley, plug them.
Should you go Jackson, Bagley, Trent?
Trent, dude, just plug them all. Right?
Yeah, I got no arguments. I'm seeing probably go Market in here.
Sabonis, Sexton,
Sabonis.
Oh, dude, this is a good lineup. RJ Barrett.
Yeah, that'll fit right in there. RJ, we got a forward. Is he a
forward guard?
Forward
66.
guard, 66. Vince Williams.
Malik Monk. Or if we don't, we don't go Barrett.
I'm certainly good with going Monk. We know what he's been. That's fine by me.
I was just thinking, like, if we wanted to get like a bull in here, obviously it's hard to like predict which one.
I definitely don't think we need Chicago.
Okay, I mean, they just have a great spot.
Sure.
That's all. Just with the pace up environment. I'm not saying we had to. I was just more so like.
I said without jamming it in, right? I mean, Sexton, Trent, Marketing, Jackson, Bagley, Monk, Barrett, Sabonis. It's a pretty good lineup.
Love that.
Pretty good lineup. All right, guys. We'll have a live stream at 5 o'clock Eastern time, 7:30 start. So look to half an hour for everybody to build their lineups. Remember to like and subscribe to the show if you haven't done so already. Check out the playbook when it goes live on Thursday. We'll be back later. We'll talk to you then.